When we talk about 21st century global power struggles, we often picture military drills, tech races, or shadow diplomacy. But sometimes, all it takes is a tariff. In 2018, US President Donald Trump launched a trade war against China. On paper, it looked like a simple economic move. In reality, it shook the foundations of the Chinese economy, altered global supply chains, and possibly changed the trajectory of global politics. This is the untold story of how a tariff became a weapon, and what happened when China refused to blink. Trump's plan was straightforward: impose tariffs on Chinese goods to reduce the US trade deficit, punish unfair trade practices, and push manufacturers back to American soil. At first it was 20%, then 34%, then another wave. Some categories of Chinese exports faced over 100% tariffs. By 2019, the average tariff on Chinese goods entering the US had soared to levels not seen since the 1930s. This wasn't just a trade dispute anymore, it was war. Economic war. Most countries, when hit with such pressure, might pause, negotiate, or offer concessions, but China, it chose a different path. Under President Xi Jinping, China responded with sweeping countermeasures, slapping retaliatory tariffs on nearly every American product entering the country. No de-escalation, no compromise. Instead of acting like a supplier dealing with a tough client, Beijing acted like a rival empire refusing to kneel. Behind the numbers, the real story was unfolding inside China's cities and factories. Over 100 million Chinese workers depend on export-related industries. When orders from America disappeared overnight, chaos followed. E-commerce exporters lost their biggest customers, factory lines went silent, business owners declared bankruptcy, and some regions reported over 60% drops in export volume. Thousands of companies, from massive logistics firms to small workshops, were hit like a wave crashing into a glass shore. The news wasn't on state-run headlines, but on social media, heartbreaking stories were everywhere. Factory closures, layoffs, companies announcing indefinite holidays, and desperate owners begging their workers to hold on. Here's what many outside China don't realize. China's rise over the past 40 years wasn't powered by consumer spending or real estate. It was powered by exports. From toys to smartphones, China became the factory of the world. Foreign companies poured in, jobs boomed, and hundreds of millions were lifted out of poverty. But take that export engine away, the rest begins to fall. Housing markets stall, consumer confidence crumbles, government revenue, and much of it tied to trade, dries up. This wasn't just about economics anymore, it became personal, political, philosophical. Trump saw himself as a deal maker. He played tough, but always left the door open for negotiation. Xi Jinping, however, ruled with a different mindset. As an authoritarian leader, showing weakness wasn't an option. Backing down from tariffs, that would be seen as surrender, and emperors don't surrender. So the tariffs stayed, and so did the pain. The longer the trade war dragged on, the deeper the damage spread. China's stock markets tumbled and its currency weakened. Foreign investors, well, they started to look elsewhere, to Southeast Asia, India, Mexico. And inside China, local governments, already drowning in debt, began to feel the squeeze. Job losses triggered housing slumps, banks tightened lending, and young people already grappling with youth unemployment saw their futures vanish. Trump had a name for what was happening: decoupling. No more dependence on China, no more entangled supply chains. Bring manufacturing home or to allies. Freeze China out. It wasn't just rhetoric, it became policy. And other countries followed. Vietnam, India, Mexico, all began offering better conditions for companies looking to relocate. And they succeeded. Factories that once filled the skylines of Shenzhen began appearing outside Hanoi, Guadalajara, and Jakarta. China wasn't just losing orders, it was losing relevance. Beijing called it internal circulation, a strategy to reduce dependence on exports and foreign tech, to focus on domestic innovation and consumption. But here's the catch. The people still need jobs, the people still need to eat, and the people still need hope. As factories close, as costs rise, as trust in leadership begins to crack, the question looms, can China truly thrive without the world? Or is the empire's greatest strength, its size, also its greatest vulnerability? The trade war didn't end with a bang. It faded into the background during a global pandemic, but the damage is done. The wounds are still bleeding. China may still be standing, proud, tall and defiant, but inside the walls, the cracks are showing. And history teaches us, sometimes a tariff can do more damage than a missile.